Hey everybody, welcome to Enliven Wellness. My name's Tessa Gurley and I'm really excited to be here. And I'm really honored to be here because we're going to talk about a topic that you probably haven't thought of yet. And that is your past traumas and how that could be the root cause of your physical symptoms, legitimately. First of all, I want to say thank you to all my subscribers. We're growing this channel, we're growing this Enliven family, and I am honored and excited to spread the hope and the love and the message that you can heal yourself. Okay, so thank you to all my one-on-ones. Shout out to Tom, one of my newest Enliveners, and I'm really excited to get started with you too, Marta, and I love my whole family, all my regular followers, all of y'all. I just love you. And if you would remember that we do YouTube Live every Tuesday, 6:30 p.m. Mountain Standard, and you can come on and ask me questions. We usually have a topic. There's a growing family. Also, if you haven't subscribed, make sure you subscribe and hit the little bell next to subscribe, because that's when you'll get notified when I go live. And I do use the live feature quite a lot. Hello, baby, I know. My little kitty's right here. He always likes to join in on the videos. Hi, everybody. Also, if you're interested in coaching, if you'd like to learn more about how to heal yourself, you can email me with the subject "I'm ready," and we will get you some strategies and answers and plans and action plans and everything so that you can feel as vital as you possibly want to. Okay? All right. So the topic at hand. Now, when I started my own health journey, I had to look legitimately at what was really truly at the root of everything going on for me. And because I was doing all the things, okay, and I still was not getting 100% better. So I had to dive into the deeper sides of things, which was my traumas in my past and the psychological things that happened to me and emotional. I was abused growing up, sexually, and also emotionally, and there was a lot of trauma in my upbringing. And I'll get into the details, later, but there was a lot of trauma. And basically when I started consulting people, I was noticing that every single person who came to me had significant amounts of trauma in their background. And of course, you can say oh, well, I was never, almost murdered or anything, but every single person who has come to me has trauma. And I started noticing this pattern. I'm like, wow, this is interesting, because I know that for me, it took me diving and really reprocessing these traumas, and then suddenly my physical symptoms started to get better. I was like, there's something here. And then I started noticing it with my clients that, we would be talking about their symptoms, but then we would actually be able to pull this back and track it to an emotion, a feeling, a memory, a trauma, an unprocessed emotion, grief, especially grief. So then I started doing some more research. And I have found no more than, I've been finding study after study after study that shows that adverse childhood events set you up for chronic inflammation in the future. More on that in a minute. But let me just go over a quick little list of symptoms of trauma. You can have agitation, irritability, isolation, flashbacks, severe crippling anxiety, sound familiar? Severe crippling depression, sound familiar? Isolation, loss of interest, loss of ability to focus, decreasing cognitive abilities, pain, blood sugar dysregulation, blood pressure dysregulation, heart palpitations, cardiac issues, immune system dysregulation, Are you guys noticing a pattern? Isn't this interesting? And baby boy, I need you to, okay, we're gonna put you down here. Okay. Sorry, he was just about to knock over the camera, but that's okay. So all of these symptoms sound pretty familiar to chronic inflammation, right? Isn't this interesting? So let me explain the mechanisms here. When you have trauma, the part of your brain that's responsible for processing traumas properly, the hippocampus, or processing memories, goes offline. It's like, you just off, okay? And then these traumas get stored as sensations, images, smells, sounds. So in other words, they get stored as body traumas, physical feelings, sensations. They don't get processed correctly. For example, a lot of people will have a hard time allowing themselves to feel happy and excited because when you feel happy and excited, you have the same physiological reactions that you do when you have lots of fear. So it's like your brain gets miswired to think that like, oh, if I'm feeling happy, then I'm actually afraid. When you're like, I'm actually just feeling happy, but then you have the same reaction that you do when you're feeling afraid, and then you don't allow yourself to feel happy because it feels too much like fear. Make sense? So again, let me repeat that. The traumas get stored as bodily sensations and physical symptoms. And until you process them at that level, the body keeps screaming out because you can't process them cognitively. You can't process these traumas and things that have happened to you logically because they weren't stored in the logical center of the brain. So yes, talk therapy is great, but you've got to process these emotions and traumas in other ways. That's work that I do with my clients. I do that kind of stuff. I do the bodily reprogramming of trauma. We reprogram those things together. It's awesome. And I know you guys have probably heard of DNRS, and I think it's great. It can sometimes be really helpful to have a coach, like a literal, and I have other techniques as well that can help and that have helped me legitimately. So you have to process these physical traumas. Well, okay, emotional traumas manifesting physically. You have to process them in a different way. But your body will just keep screaming out until you do. So here's another piece. When you have a trauma or when you have an emotion that's really, really strong, or you're feeling something really intensely, but especially a traumatic event, your amygdala, the fear, that's the fear signaler of your brain, and it goes fear, fear, threat, 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 and then it goes hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, go into fight, flight, or freeze, fight, flight, or freeze, fight, flight, or freeze, chronic inflammation. And then those of us who have not processed through these and who have had these in our past are set up for chronic inflammation because our bodies are in a perpetual state of fight, flight, or freeze instead of rest, digest, and repair. And we are constantly on high alert, searching for the next threat. And we are just constantly in this I'm under threat mental state. So no wonder we feel threatened by everyday little things. Mold, smells, chemicals, sounds, noises, sounds, sights, too much stress. We become very sensitive because our poor little brains are just on fire, constantly feeling afraid. And again, fight, flight, or freeze, you're in chronic inflammation right there. So I'm, again, not saying that biotoxins aren't a problem, but your body is meant to be able to reprocess these. Okay, it's meant to be able to handle these kinds of things. But because your amygdala has been overactive, you were already set up to become sensitive. And then this gets into the sequencing, this gets into the signaling and the expression of the HLA-DR gene. Because the HLA-DR gene is triggered by inflammation. And what triggers inflammation in the first place? Up here. Especially fear. And low vibration emotions like guilt, anger, all of these emotions, they do create inflammation in the body. They've shown it. And then it triggers the expression of that HLA-DR. Interestingly, as well, I found an article that they have just realized that there is a connection between amygdala activation and the increase in production of white blood cells from your bone marrow, which increases inflammation in your body. Wow. So if you have chronic activity going on in your amygdala, fear center, you're going to be telling your bone marrow to be making more white blood cells, which equals more inflammation. Really fascinating. So, could trauma be at the root of your physical symptoms? And of course, I'm not saying that there's not space for you actually having physical symptoms, but what I'm saying is that all physical symptoms start with your nervous system and your brain. And if you have trauma in your background, which most of you do, that's unprocessed, until you actually address that, your physical symptoms are going to continue. If you can address that, your physical symptoms will decrease. There is, again, I can load up links to these studies that I was just like, oh my gosh, I was just going crazy. And I was just like on PubMed, just like, oh my God, this is amazing that it showed right there that adverse experiences in life increase your chances for chronic inflammatory conditions. It's right there in the literature. But this should be really empowering as well. Because yes, you may have had these things happen to you, and you may have been set up for being sensitive to mold and being sensitive to anything in biotoxins and everything. But that also means that you can take the power back. So let's pull it back to the message of this channel. You can take that power back by actually reprocessing your traumas correctly. Talk therapy, things that help rewire your nervous system and your brain to feel safe. I teach a lot of these different techniques. Yes, DNRS is great. Sometimes there might be some other answers out there than DNRS, right? I think it's wonderful. But maybe there's other ways too. Maybe there's other methods that could be helpful. And it can be helpful to have a coach. And if that coach is not me, I understand. But if you dig my vibe, then let that coach be me, because we do this kind of work. And I've been through it, y'all. Okay, I've been through lots of trauma. And I can tell you for a fact that not just me, but multiple clients of mine who let us go there realize the connection, and we work through it and reprocess it, and they feel better. I felt better. I feel better the more I get through these things. So anyway, just know that you are not alone, and that I love you, and that you can take your health back into your own hands, and you can heal yourself. Sometimes you need a guide, sometimes you need a teacher. But you're gonna do the healing regardless of what modality you use. You're gonna do the healing. And just know that you are loved. Thank you for subscribing. This is just one video and probably a lot that are going to be coming up. I'll talk about some of these specific studies if you're interested. And please comment down below if you found this video helpful, and also what your thoughts are around the physical manifestation of emotional trauma. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Thank you so much. Please like and share these videos, and I love you. You are so loved, and you can heal. There is so much hope. Bye.